So without further ado, I want to tell you about a couple of very special people that I've had the pleasure of working with, but also a little bit about their history that I think it's only fair for you to know a little bit more so that we know who is presenting these sessions for you. I'm very actually excited about this particular session quite a bit. With over 15 plus years of experience, he spearheaded the company operations, forging the foundations of Entigrity that works closely and exclusively with the accounting community. Sean's strategic vision and leadership led to the expansion and diversification of Entigrity in several areas over the years. Sean understood numerous staffing-related challenges plaguing the accounting community. It is by that virtue that today Entigrity is indeed serving 500 plus accounting firms across North America. And of course, I'm talking about none other than our very own Sean Parikh, the founder and chairman of Entigrity. But before, hold your applause, before you do that, I also want to tell you a little bit about someone that has been in front of you in the past day and a half now, and that is Chris Rivera, which there's a lot more you need to know about him. He happens to be, of course, the director of client relations in Entigrity. Let me tell you a little bit more about Chris. Chris is an expert at leading and managing teams actively from the front. His expertise in sales training, coaching, mentoring, and influencing, combined with his competitive nature, make him a strong leader. Chris has traveled through the length and the width of the country and has spoken with more than 5,000 CPAs, understanding their challenges and limitations in practice, workflow management, team building, recruitment, and retention, among other things. On these grounds, he can now easily provide well-analyzed opinions and solutions that can be immensely helpful to professionals. And of course, I'm talking about none other than our very own Chris Rivera, who has been spearheading our event since yesterday morning. So with a lot of gratitude to Sean and Chris, I'm excited to have you both. I know it's going to be an amazing session, and I'll give it to you. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
Thank you, Sia. Thanks for such a wonderful opportunity. I know we have been doing things together, and the kind of introduction you give, I should have been in my suit. Well, no, but yeah, our partnerships and our commonalities in working is really to help every small and mid-sized accounting firm out there across the globe. And that's the kind of impact we together want to make. So I really thank you and the team FYUSA for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to today's event. Hello, everyone, wherever you are joining in from. Again, this is Sean. I'm going to share my screen, and Amanda, if you can just confirm everybody can see that. Thank you.
Yes, it's looking great.
Thank you. So, well, staffing, recruiting, managing, and retaining the team is perhaps the #1 challenge. Time and again, every survey out there in accounting industry is telling, not just AICPA's selected surveys. And what we have discovered is when you eventually try to figure out this, what can be done, you'll see many of the mentors and coaches working alongside you would always talk about, how to save time for the owners, how to work less and make more, so that how we can be more effective in your management skills. But it is all about you. It is all about partners, and it's all about owners. Well, very less, in fact, coaches speak about, how we can actually work for the team, which is, for the business at the end of the day. Especially in accounting firms where uh, where the team are unlike you are any consumer facing business or any expert engineering business, especially in smaller firms, which is small to mid-sized firm, which is typically personality driven, owner driven firms. uh, Pretty often even owners and partners forget that there is a team working behind them, and it is this team which will require and which will need to be motivated, or which would need to improvise their skill set, which would need to understand the vision in order for your firm not just to scale but to manage effectively in such a way that you are working towards your purpose, you are working towards your goal. Not every accounting firm out there is just to increase their bottom line. A lot of people want quality of life after a certain point of time. A lot of them actually want to serve particular client, their expertise, or a lot of people want to actually spend time on hobbies. So this is where we are going to talk about some of the things, how we can improve when it comes to managing uh, and retaining your teams. Let us look at some of the challenges that we typically face with team management. Trust. When we started back in 2012, uh, being an offshore staffing company, this is the most important thing. This is the thing, uh, it took time. It took us 3 to 4 years to actually build the kind of credibility that we are enjoying today. Today, we have the choice that we can tell some of the firms that we are still not ready for stepping into a direction of offshore staffing. So just because now we have built it, we can our we can enjoy. I mean, we enjoy that brand promise and trust in the community today, that we can tell our opinion matters to them. But talking about the early days, uh, this was the most important thing. I always say that if we are able to win the trust of our clients, I mean, our job would be half done. So similarly, as an owner or a partner, if your team member trusts your um, vision, trust the policies, trust the growth that you are looking for, trust the way you are working, then that's how it is. Communication. Personality driven businesses lack communication internally and externally both. Internally is basically when we are talking about uh, uh, between the teams, multi-level, top down. So this has come out as challenges is team management, ownership of task. As the firm evolves, there are always overlapping work profiles, evolving roles and responsibilities, especially when you live in times of change, and when new things come up, you don't know, or who's going to take care of this. For example, yesterday I was talking to one of our clients, and he was asking me, "Do you have someone who knows Form 3508 for filling out Form 3508?" And there are two more versions of it. So with dynamic environment and the strategies that you follow, there would your roles. I mean, the roles and responsibilities within the team will always evolve, and lack of boundaries within the team and the workflow management, especially in times where remote working is a new normal. Workflow management will definitely the way you used to do that before. I think it has to be managed in a way that it still has the same level of control and effectiveness. Um, so today we are going to talk about 2 or 3 specific things that can really help you, according to me, in building a relationship with the team, which can actually work towards what we are trying to achieve. Unified purpose. So while I'm talking about this, one thing comes to my mind, accounting firms, me and Chris would have spoken with almost 4,000 or 5,000 accountants. And if we ever, whenever we ask this question to them, we always get a puzzled look. It's not that they don't know the purpose. It's just that, it is not that defined. It is very, very important for you that where you want to go from where you are, or what you want to. When you talk about purpose, it's about the goals. It's about your vision, mission. I don't want to get into semantics, but one word which I think fits everything is what and how you want to do things and why. So that's what we are talking about. And when you say unified, it has to be of the firm and not of the owner and partner. So when we try to do this activity, we have to take a step back. And we have to kind of introspect and ask right questions to ourselves that what do you want your business life to look like, 5, 10, 15 years? What do you want your numbers to look like? What product, services, what team culture you want to create, what type of clients you want to work with, what core value you should have around this. So these are just set of sample questions. What possibly you want to do is go back to the drawing board, when you started your firm, visualize how you have grown and where you want to go from here. So when you start asking these questions to basically yourself, that's where things will start getting more clear into your mind. In fact, this exercise is true for us too. We did not start it from the very beginning when we started the business. No, it is at the midst when we realize that we are growing, but now it seems that our basics are taken care of. It's time that we take a seat back and think that where from here, how we want to go about it. Time for the poll question. This is again a question that we often ask. Would every employee or your team be able to articulate the purpose of your firm? Answer could be yes, maybe, and no.
And that's
Amanda,
live now. That's live now. It'll be a few seconds before it shows up for our attendees, but it's live now. And if you want to continue on, you're welcome to do that. And you can just come back to me in a minute or so, and we should have a answer for you.
Perfect. Maybe we'll continue. And Amanda, whenever you have a little trend, let us know. But honestly, whenever we have done this survey, even with our prospective clients, most of the time they think through and they say that, I think my team knows it, but they'll not be able to articulate it. Or probably I have never told them this. Whenever I interview them or whenever I hire them or whenever I have a team meeting or a yearly meeting, we talk about clients, we talk about tax returns, we talk about assignments, we talk about projects, but not about this. Yes, Amanda.
You'd be correct. I think our viewers feel the same way. We've got the answer I'm getting the most is no. Out of everything, we have a small percentage of yes and even less maybe, but the overwhelming majority is no.
We all are traveling in the same boat. We have realized in the mid of our journey that this is very, very important, even though we are growing from fast-growing business. So why it is important that the purpose needs to be unified, and each and every member in the family, in the firm, needs to know about this. Because every action that you take in your firm, you have a guiding principle what we are trying to achieve. So this act, everything revolves around this. So even I always say that whenever we have our annual meet, we actually have this slide. So we reinforce that we are here for this. And definitely it evolves. A bullet here and there might evolve, but the core value remains the same. And whenever we have annual meet and we have 600, 700, 800 people in the town hall, we would want to reinforce this again. So even if you distract yourself during the course of your business, you come back and you focus that you are here for this. These are your guiding principles. And each of your team member knows that our firm exists, or our firm existence is for this. So their action, their conduct, their thinking, their planning, their strategy revolve around this. And I have tried to articulate here a sample purpose document or a plan which typically any firm would have. And I call it a unified purpose of a happy and a successful firm. So what are those maxims that should be part of this purpose? We want our business growth in mid-teens year over year. We want our client government deadlines to be met ahead of time and not in mad rush. We want our team humming and working cohesively and not working more than 1,800 hours per year. We want clients to buy things they need and help them achieve their goals. We want employee growth commensurate with the growth of business. We want partners not working long hours. Sorry for that typo. We want partners not working long hours. Their stress levels are low, if not balanced. We want profit before partner salaries are well above 50%. So here, I was little in dilemma that should I form this seventh point part of this unified purpose. And what I realized that if it's unified, if it's for all, it has to be there. Even if you're talking about team member, you should be talking about the profitability too, because they need to know that this is what we are trying to do for the firm. So this was my idea about how it could look like. It changes from firm to firm according to their vision, according to their goals, according to their timelines. The second element of what possibly could be a very important part of a good team management would be unified working. And when we talk about unified working, it does not mean working on a cloud platform or working on some kind of a project management system. It is much more than that. Let us look at 4 C's, which according to me are core part of my unified working strategy. First being communication. We spoke about that before. And I'll tell you example of our organization, although it is not apple to apple comparison, but it plays a very important role. And I want to talk about the recent events. When we are 850 people company, and suddenly in March, India declared lockdown. So we have our office in India, by the way. Though for the benefit of the viewers who don't know, Entigrity is an offshore staffing company, and they have their office in India, and about 800 to 900 people work there. So India being a little underdeveloped or developing nation, medical infrastructure was never that big to kind of estimate and manage the loss. Probably, the medical emergency. So that's the reason the Indian government declared complete lockdown in March. And except pharmaceuticals, medical shops, groceries, everything was completely shut down. No business at all, no public transport, no travel, no flights, nothing. Only 3 or 4 essentials. So it was a big, big, big step. And India has still got a big percentage of their population living their life on daily wages. Indian government did a lot of work there, but still, system was completely closed down. So still, the site was not great. People were suffering from starvation. We were managing a team of 800, 900 people. Everybody was panicked because we as a company never allowed work from home because of security and confidentiality. So how this is going to happen? And that's where it was so much important that we had this communication channel which connects everyone from top to bottom, managers, executives, managers, supervisor, team leads, executives, every one of them. We used to do the whole, 800 people meeting every Wednesday and Friday for 10 minutes on the Zoom. And my job was to tell them that, things are uncertain, but we need to make sure that we continue to work. And we were lucky enough that about 75% of the client allowed work from home. And rest of the client who did not, they had their own limitations. So we were lucky enough that work was continued and the communication was not broken down. So this was one of the big case studies. Sometimes I feel in accounting firm, communication happens between owners and the senior managers, and everybody else is just punching and data, entering the data. That senior manager is the right hand of the owner, and he controls the whole operations. An owner and partner sits in their chamber and meets client. You can run the operations like this, but cannot imagine to scale from there. And the people who are working for you below that senior manager, that 8 or 9 or 12 people, are they know that they have to report to office at 8 a.m. and leave the office at 5 p.m. and complete this 7 tax returns or 2 accounting or this 1 payroll process. That's how it works. If you want to grow from point A to 20% or 18% year on year, you need to have from top to bottom communication system, even though you might not communicate with your tax preparers or your associates, but there has to be monthly meeting. There has to be weekly huddles. Collaboration. Again, I want to tell you that collaboration does not mean working on a particular project management or cloud management system. It's an environment. It's an environment where you give opportunity to everyone to express, to give their idea, to succeed. That's what I call, a collaborative workplace. The importance of that is you will have people who will think on their feet and take decisions. So it is very, very important that, and of course, common online workplaces or project management system are great facilitators to that, where, if you assign a task or if you communicate, the entire team knows what's happening and everybody's on top of, all the information. So, but it is not just about that. It is about, building such kind of a, culture in the company. Change. According to me, out of these 3s, change is perhaps one of the most important if firm is looking to grow. I mean, there are hundreds of examples in the history of corporate America where some of the companies have just got bankrupt just because they were not able to manage the change. I mean, let us not talk about the negative example. Let us talk about a positive example. And what comes to my mind is Netflix. I always call them disrupt yourself before somebody else disrupts you. So managing change in the team is so very important. And if people can go online, there is a big case study out there on Netflix, how the management managed the team. Although, they never had a content team. They rely on content for produced by someone else. And now they are actually becoming a producer. I mean, not that they are actually making it, but they need to have a content team. So I have read this case study from a DVD subscription business to the number one and the most valued online entertainment content platform, being a pioneer in that. So I know this is not something which is very much relevant to or an apple-to-apple comparison, but we are living in times of change today. So whether you want to switch from value-based pricing to AHR, or whether you want to continue with probably an on-premise server or transform to cloud, or whether you want to, evolve in terms of changing roles and responsibilities of your team member. Or maybe what we have seen today, because everybody has gone remote, offshore staffing is far more acceptable today than what it used to be before. So whatever change or whatever transformation, so to say, that you are trying to bring in your firm, management of that change is very, very important. We have seen failures in our management, and that's where the learning comes from. Because, employee doesn't think the way you think it unless you convey it, unless you make them visualize that. So it is very, very important. Otherwise, the team will become prisoners of their own mindset. So it is very, very important for them. If you want them to come out of that prison, you'll have to facilitate them. You'll have to tell them that this is for the good of the business, this is for the good of the team, and this is how it is. Many businesses, I mean, many mergers and acquisitions in accounting industry have failed just because you have not been able to manage the change. So that is the third limb of what we can do. And according to me, what's the most important thing that holds all these three key important element is the culture. The culture is basically about thinking that what your employee thinks about your business, about your management, about the policies, about the working environment, about building their own teams, about empowerment, about accountability reporting. So it is very, very important, the perception that you have and the operationalities around that perception are positive, because negativity spreads fast, unfortunately, in today's environment, whether we accept it or not. Negative news are, they spread much faster than any good thing happening around you. So you need to make sure that you hold on to this culture. Otherwise, what will happen is, even if somebody is working with you, just because he or she would not have any opportunity outside, or just because you are providing for the living for somebody, it does not mean, I've seen even in small firms, there is a big disconnect. And accountants being accountants, they are behind the computers all the time. So it is very, very important. And one thing that probably an accountant would need to transform is they have to think as a leader here, rather than an owner or a partner of an accounting firm. If you are a leader, and if you are a leader of a team, That's how you would have to think, and then put their perspective uh, in your mind, and look at the things. We have actually, implemented this with a lot of our accounting firm clients, and we always tell them that this exercise should be done every year. Let me tell you what actually this exercise is. Redefining roles and responsibilities. Actually, we are not going to redefine these roles and responsibilities completely. What we are going to do here is, and this is just a sample, uh, this exercise we always recommend that you should do it yearly in your firm, where you bring in all the staff together and spend about 4 or 5 hours together. What you should be doing is, you tell each and every one of your team member, and you should all be involved in two, that list down your task, whatever smallest of the task you have, please list it down. And also then scale, give basically point to each of the tasks on the scale of 1 to 7. 1 represent the least, 7 representing the most. And the scale is for the level of comfort that you have in doing that task, and how much you enjoy in doing those tasks. I mean, initially I had apprehension. Does it really work? It is very impactful. The results were really, really amazing. I mean, I'm trying to summarize it, but when you start talking, you come across things that you could have done and are not being done. And you'll come across a lot of redundancies. You'll come across a lot of duplication. I'm trying to summarize it, but actual exercise is much more effective. So you will probably come across largely 4 categories, which is high on commitment, high on enjoyment, low on commitment, low on enjoyment, and high on commitment, low on enjoyment, low on commitment, high on enjoyment. So these are the 4 quadrants where most of your task would fall in, and it will give you possibly, the ideas how you can restructure. I mean, how you can take the action. So, for example, if your employee is not comfortable and not enjoying the work, that is a red zone. You need to restructure that. And you need to have correct expectation from your employee. He may be a non-performer and you might need to fire him. But if as long as he's working for you, having the right expectation is very, you can't expect a 2-year experienced professional to do a Form 990 or task which typically an 11-year experienced professional would do. So that he or she would not be comfortable, anyone would not enjoy, because at the end of the day you want success in your work. You want that at the end of the day, I'm doing this 10 tasks which are where I'm successfully contributing to the growth and the business of the firm. And if you're not doing that, maybe 1 day or 2, 3rd day it will start pinching you. So that's also important. So that's where we call it, you require a big restructuring. Low on comfort, high on enjoyment. Sometimes you have these people who are quick learners, who have who wants to take responsibilities and take decisions. These people like complexity of the work, but you need to make sure you mentor them, train them continuously, and let them take those responsibilities and go out. High on comfort, high on enjoyment. The green space is the most ideal space. And I think Chris works in that green space. All right, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And the blue quadrant is basically the quadrant of delegation. And that's where you have some of the senior employees, some of the most valuable assets of the company, doing work which a college graduate or a person with lesser experience can be doing. So that's the fourth quadrant, and you will see some of the results that you achieve. And this has to be done every year because it's like aligning to the purpose that we decided. So coming back while you have spent your year, you might have got a little off track. So let us go back to the drawing board and let us, do this exercise again. Third element of today's presentation is about offshore staffing, and many of you think how this is relevant for the team. Actually, it is more for team. One of the fundamentals around offshore staffing. So staffing is a challenging situation. It has been challenging situation for accounting firms, and the number one challenge, perhaps in all surveys happening throughout the decade. So it has been the number one challenge since so many years. But why today, if we talk about offshore staffing, which is hiring an offshore staff that works for an accounting firm, companies like Entigrity. So your A team, which works onshore, whether remote or in office, they can do what they want to do. They can lead the team that is working offshore. They have more time for clients. They have more time for new learnings. They have more time for work they like to do within the firm. For example, they like to work on a particular project, but you have another priority and you have to complete a tax return. So they would like to work on things that's important. More time for family, more time for hobbies. So that's where offshore staffing is more about firm and team than just profitability, which people always think. Let us talk about concerns around offshore staffing, and we'll throw some highlights around solutions or possible workaround with that. Time for next polling questions. Have you tried offshore staffing before? Yes or no? Amanda, I'll continue with my presentation.
That's great.
So first and the foremost concern that every accountant out there has asked us is data security. Well, this is very, very important when you're dealing with information which is confidential, which requires to protect the identity, and privacy is so very important. I mean, we had a zero security breach in 8 years, and we have worked with more than 500 accounting firms. So as I said, trust was very important for us from the day one. If we are not able to maintain the trust, we are out of business. This is the first line of our induction training program. So any employee who steps into this chamber or steps into the office, this is the first line. Second concern, is it for my firm? Many firms think that it is for large firms or it is for ultra small firms, not for my firm. Well, it may not be a great fit. Not every firm may be good for offshore hiring, but it is one of the most important solutions available today to manage your team effectively. But definitely you should think and explore. What would my client think? Well, this mindset is so much prevalent, although people have started opening up more. But Big Four have a big presence there. Large firms have big presence in India. So, I mean, clients are as good as you. So, first of all, what do you think about it? And what we believe is most clients want great service, wonderful experience. I'm sorry for that. Most client wants great experience and wonderful experience for a fair price. So we have never come across any situation that wherein client has given a negative feedback or client has given uh, anything that he has apprehensions. And we always tell that you need your client to be on the same page with you. What would my team think? It is very, very important because you don't want your team to think that you're shipping US job offshore or their jobs are at stake. And we openly want each and every owner and partner starts working with us, talk with the team because it is very, very important offshore and onshore team integrates well for a successful implementation of offshore staffing in this business. And honestly, the big thing is whenever our client has adapted to offshore staffing, their local staffing has increased 11% year on year. And this is latest of 2019. So somewhere it is at least with respect to our clients, it's a myth that whenever offshoring happens, it is essentially scaling down your local operations in your firm. Answer is no. But having said that, it is very, very important that you keep your firm team on the same page, engaged and involve them. And as I said, it is more for the team. Quality of the work, quality of the staff member. Well, do your diligence before getting the right partner. Just last couple of slides and I'll hand over to Chris from there. Where offshore staffing is going. I mean, with remote working today, many more accounting firms are today open to offshore staffing because at the end of the day, remote is all remote. Whether it is from Miami or Mumbai, whether it is from Detroit or Delhi.
Boston, Bengaluru.
Yep. So things are changing and people are more adaptive to and open to embrace offshore staffing. We see it going, we see more and more from today. We have about 125,000 accounting firms in America. I'm counting all big four, mid-size and smaller firms. And about 6,000 firms have actually been using offshore staffing. So, and this ramping up quite rapidly. So we see more than 50, 60,000 firms in the next 2 to 3 years going. We talk about redefining roles and responsibilities. People often have questions. If I start with offshore staffing, what should be the first point? If you do this activity, this blue quadrant would be your first starting point. I'm putting in the chat this link of this ebook, and you can share this with your team members as well as you. Chris, you want to comment?
Yeah, sure. Sean, thank you so much. Very passionate about everything going on, especially giving us some insight into India as well with the pandemic. It's something I get asked a lot, so providing that is awesome. But for everybody, I'm going to finish this out here. So just give you a quick background. How much time do I have? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Well, really quickly, let me share the results of the poll for you guys.
Thank you.
And we have a quick question.
Yes,
and then I will also give you the time.
Sure, perfect.
So more than half, close to 60% said they've never tried offshore staffing before.
Wow.
But there was a good chunk. There was a good chunk of people who have tried it before. So there wasn't no people who haven't tried.
Right.
We did have a comment that said, I tried it for 3 years. Security wasn't the issue, but the quality of work performed was not great. It was their biggest issue. So if you have any strategies for how to solve that problem in addressing offshoring, and then go ahead.
I'd be curious to know if there was dedicated staff, right, or outsourcing, because there are two different models that get intermingled quite a bit. And it's just like if there's many clients that I speak to that have had bad experiences before. I do weekly webinars where I ask, tell me your experience. Was it awesome? Was it horrible? Was it a nightmare? Was it amazing? right? Because it is going to range, and it's bottom line, it's all about having the right partner, the right staff in place. No matter where you're hiring in the world, staffing is always going to be an issue, no matter how big your firm size is as well. But yeah, I'm just curious to know if they could let us know what type of model it was, and we'll go from there. Any other?
I can ask that too. They did ask, does Entigrity train its staff in a variety of tax and bookkeeping tools, or is that client firm specific?
No, there's training year round that's offered by Entigrity. So there's minimum of 20 hours per associate per month that has to be done. And this is in regards to their profile, whether it be tax, bookkeeping, accounting, right, or audit. Foster an environment of taking not just professional growth courses, but there's tax workshops that have to be completed, and that's their profile. And then there's a partnership with MYCPE for professional growth courses and learning modules too. There's over 400. So the training is offered and paid by Entigrity for the associates. So of course our clients will spend time training, but it's not always on the client themselves. It's a good question.
Okay. And then I would say that we have about 10 minutes here to
10? Okay.
wrap up. Yes, that's what I'm
Perfect.
looking at.
Let's do it. So Entigrity. So the reason why I asked the other question is because we provide dedicated staff for specific requirements for our clients, including software requisites. And they work as part of your team from our offices in India. Crazy, right? So headquartered in Houston, we've worked with over 500 different accounting firms throughout North America, and 6 offices on the western side of India, holding our 800 plus employees. And the team has gradually built, with taking off the last few years, colleagues of mine all throughout the globe, literally. And the benefits, now $9 an hour is great, but a lot of times people want to, have 10 or 15 associates at that rate, and it's not the right approach to do that, right? There are no other costs or overheads or other commissions, long-term commitments, things like that. So that's a great benefit. However, it's not just about the cost savings, okay? As Sean was talking about and mentioning, and throughout these presentations on the last 2 days, really getting into your firm to see what you need. Competitive edge. Are you trying to reduce your workload, right? Capacity building. I've had so many calls that there's marketing plans in place and ideas and strategies, but no one to do the work, right? So how do you go about doing that? And yes, it is to work less and make more, but you always have to have the right staff. Next slide. And the roles that are offered. So we took the concept from the Big Four and top 100 firms, and enabling the small to mid-sized market to utilize the same resources and bandwidth, right? So there's going to be your technical roles. I need a bookkeeper, accountant, tax preparer. However, there's non-technical roles, right? Especially with one-man, one-woman shops that I work with, they need help cleaning up calendar, administrative support. They need help answering emails. They need calling on clients, assisting clients, onboarding clients. Just there's many different ways you could offshore those tasks. So this gives you an idea of both technical and non-technical roles. And then hiring full-time all the time, right? No, at the seasonality of work, nature of the workflow, you can hire part-time, okay? Starting as little as 10 hours a week. There are seasonal models and project-based work, but working in the small to mid-sized market, the ability to hire part-time and scale and grow as you guys as well is very important. So that's what's offered. And the polling question, who wants to learn more? Would you be open to learning more about offshore staffing? Yes or no? And any other questions?
So I have the polling open. We do have some
Okay.
time for questions if you guys are open to that. We have a few minutes.
Yes.
So I had someone ask, do you have any Canadian clients?
Yes. Broke ground 2 years ago into Canada and approaching 100 firms working with anywhere from bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes. Yes.
That's wonderful. And then they said they had 3 dedicated accountants.
Okay.
So even with, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, I do have some experience with working with offshoring, but even with a dedicated person, sometimes it comes down to having the right person or the right level of experience with that person. And some offshoring companies have better training than others. You just have, like Sean had said, you have to do your due diligence in what is available. And I think Entigrity does an amazing job with their training and the way that they really push communication and integrate that person into your team, rather than it being like this onshore, offshore versus situation. You want them to be cohesive together.
Yes. Thank you, Amanda. Well said. But,
sorry.
No, you have an open position for a sales professional.
Yeah, we can work together now. No, you're absolutely right, and it's the how you approach it, how you manage it. A lot of times you think you hire and it's a turnkey solution and everything will fall into place. It's like, well, wait a second. Well, I hired them. What are they doing out there? Have you onboarded? Have you called? Do they have an email, right? These are simple things that you need to put in place. And then when the actual work's coming in, you need to provide coaching and feedback. The biggest advice, the most simplest advice I say is just simply treat it like it's your own employee. It doesn't matter if it's 10 hours a week or 40 hours a week. If you what would you do if it was a local employee? What would you do if it was a local remote employee? If you keep that mindset, it doesn't matter where they are. When you hire them, what do? You give them an email, right? You set up remote access. You outline your expectations, time tracking, what to do at the end of the day, specific client instructions. Are they going to be calling, reaching out to clients, right?
You put them through the same training you would any other employee.
absolutely.
Couple more questions, and I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer. Do you charge for the equipment or computers?
No. It's provided by Entigrity. So for the associates, yes.
And then do you have bookkeepers who are trained in QuickBooks Online? We've looked into Offshore, but this is not common. They all seem to only know the desktop version.
Gotcha. That's a really good question. With our associates, the baseline for one is a bachelor's degree education, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, and Microsoft Office experience. And then it could be sourced for other like CRMs, and of course, tax software, but that's kind of the baseline. So yeah.
And do you guys hire based on what people are looking for, or do you have a pool of people to choose from? Because I've seen it kind of both ways, where you interview the person that you hire, or maybe you have a few people who are just available on staff, and then they go into a new client contract or something.
So I want specific requirements. So we want, the profile position. We want the day-to-day tasks you're expecting them to do. Any niche industries that they need to work in. Specific form knowledge, right? The more specific you are, you'll get presented resumes that you interview, that you tell us who you want to interview, and you get to handpick the work for you. So that's very important to set the tone in the beginning of being specific in what you're expecting from us. And then we also, will outline our expectations to make sure everyone's on the same page.
That's great. And then I have one more question in your poll results, and I'll let you guys go. Do the employees work on North American hours?
Yes, we set it up so you do have overlap every single morning. The availability is 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. in your time zone, whether it be Pacific, Mountain, Central, or Eastern, 3 a.m. to 1 p.m.
That's great. And it's 86% would like to, are open to learn more about offshore staffing. So that's
awesome.
Amazing.